Alright, hang on guys, it won't let me into the chat. Let me get something figured out here. Can't remember. I think this is the password that I just changed recently. Okay. Okay, alright. I know what I did wrong. Now it's gotta go to my phone. Jeez, man, it's a pain in the butt. Like you put your password in and then, oh hey, can you go to your phone and tell us what confirmation number we sent you? Be right there. Be right there. Yes, it's me. Alright. Close. Alright, I changed my password the other day because I couldn't remember it, so luckily I wrote down what I changed it to this time. I have it in my wallet. Alright. So I went to a meeting. My local blacksmithing club's meeting was today. And they made little dragon's head, but they were doing them out of like 1/4-inch square stock. Actually, it was supposed to be 1/4-inch square stock. I looked at my stock and I said, hey guys, this is actually 1/4 by 3/16, it's a rectangle. So when I did mine, I actually upset a little bit on the end of the bar to make it 1/4 by 1/4, but then I was telling them that it was probably easier to do it in big stock than it is in that tiny little stuff. That was a pain. But in the course of doing it, you know, there's a tool that you put in your vise, and I may have to move a camera so we can see my vise. But I have to weld this tool up real quick first. So let me get a piece of soapstone. I want to make sure it's square. And a square. Somewhere I have a square. Just don't know where. This gusset will work. All right. Alright, so I just got to weld a couple pieces of angle iron together. It's a real simple tool that you use when you're making these dragon heads and stuff, and to be honest with you, I've always just kind of stuck them in the vise and done them without it in the past, but it is so much easier with one, so I don't know why I put it off so long. So we're going to go ahead and make us a little tool first. probably be out of the frame. That's fine. That looks like it's probably 332. Alright. I got my welding helmet, and I'm using my stick welder. They make welders out of gas. I need to take the bottle down to my local welding supply on and have it filled back up. But no biggie. We got the stick welder. We can get her done. Alright, just trying to get a tack on there so the other side doesn't lift up. Now I can actually put a good weld in there. Did you guys see the voice? Oh yeah, you can see the voice on that screen. Alright. Alright, and a lifetime ago I used to be a really good welder. But, you know, like anything else, you're not doing it all the time. You're not going to be as good as you used to be when you did do it all the time. So, that takes care of that. Fire's building up pretty good. I wonder, yeah, I probably won't have to move a camera over here to see the vise. Otherwise you're not going to see most of it. Crap, when I move that camera, if it cuts out, I'll have to shut the whole computer down and restart to get it to come back up. Alright, I got a good draft going. I can open my hood. Pull my little block out. Stir up my fire. Fill the line a little more coal and get a nice bank all the way around it. Alright, where was I? You would think that I'd have a 10, oh, you would think I would have chipping hammers laying everywhere in here, but so this is nothing fancy, very simple tool. And that's just two pieces of angle iron welded together, so that when you set it in your vise, it gives you a backstop to set your stuff up against while you're driving your punches and chisels and stuff in to decorate it. Alright, so that's going to be hot. Grab a pair of tongs. Is anybody in here? Yeah, you're not supposed to, you know, cool and dip in water welds, but, you know, that weld was pretty superficial on what this is. It's not going to take a lot of stress, but all you do is you weld a piece of angle on top of another piece of angle. Huh, I didn't even notice one leg's longer than the other on that. So I will have a steeper angle here than over here. I don't even matter. Really, should do the same thing. Shouldn't matter at all. All right, now I need a piece of 3/4, and I do have a piece laying over there on the ground. It's not a 20-foot long piece. No, I'm kidding. Everything in my racks is 10 foot shorter. Cut everything down when I get it. Alright, 3/4. You know what, I might just take a couple minutes. I don't see anybody in here yet. So I might just start taking a couple minutes and putting some tools, organizing real quick so that I can grab tools without having to look all over the place for them. Let me grab them and get them in the rack in their designated spots. Eight, quarter, 3/8. Okay. All right, somebody's finally here. Okay. I'm going to be a couple seconds here, and I may end up having to kill the stream and restart it, because we're going to be doing some work in the vise, and I'm going to try to move that camera, but if that camera cuts out, I have to go back and, you know, shut the whole computer down and restart it before it'll recognize it again. So first I'm just getting a couple tools. I had a bunch of tools in a 5-gallon bucket. I went to one of my local blacksmith meetings today, and so I took a bunch of tools with me, tongs and hammers and whatnot, and I just got to throw them back so that I'm not fumbling to find everything. I know where it's at on my racks if I put it where it belongs. So bear with me for a second here. It literally only takes a second. All my hammers have belong in a certain order, and all my tongs and whatnot. They're already half done now. So there, ladder goes there, goes there. Let's use that much. Let's use this one. Maybe. All right, so I was at the meeting, and at the meeting, all right, this is just some random punches and stuff in here. All right, now I have to see if I can move that camera back there so that we can get it here at the vise. We were doing dragon heads at the meeting. One of the demonstrators, the demonstrator that was doing the demonstration is one of our newer guys, and we're trying to encourage our newer guys to get out there and do demos once in a while. And you know, we're probably not going to be highly impressed by what they're making, and we know it, but at the same time, we all started somewhere too. So, you know, we're just trying to get them out there. Get them, you know, to start demonstrating and showing people and not being afraid of people seeing what they're doing. All right, let me see if I can't grab this from there, reach over the other camera. Bring this one over and maybe set it in this area-ish. Put the cord where I won't drop something on it and burn it. All right, yeah, that's not that horrible. All right, let me get this settled down here. Sorry, bear with me. I mean, just trying to get this set up right this second. Yeah, now you can really see how dirty my shop is down on that end. I don't even know how well you're going to see it that far apart or away. Maybe we'll bring it in closer here. Alright, so like I was saying, the demonstrator today, he did the dragon head, but he did it on 1/4 inch square, really small. And you know, it wasn't slide it back. It didn't have much detail. I mean, it barely had 2 eyes, and you know, I mean, there's just not a lot. I made one. Mine didn't have much detail even because there just wasn't a lot of material there to do with. Now, my shop right now is disgustingly dirty and needs a good spring clean out. This is good. Alright, now I got both cameras. Alright, so I've made dragon heads before, and I've just clamped them in the vise and done them that way. Just clamping them in and doing it. And I've seen people using the tool, which is just, this is simple. It's a piece of 2 pieces of angle iron welded together. You drop it in your vise, and then you clamp your stock in up against this, and it just backs it up. So you can drive your nostrils and your nose punch and all that in. And I've just been doing them without one for years. And I just, you know, a couple minutes ago said, I might as well just make one. So I did. I grabbed a piece of angle iron. What I didn't notice was that the angle has 2 different length legs. So when I welded this on, I have 2 different angles. I have 2 different angles here and here because of the fact that that has 2 different length legs. And if I'd have noticed it, I probably wouldn't have cared, but I'd probably put this right in the center instead of offset towards one side. That way I could use either angle, depending on what I wanted. Alright, so they were saying, you know, some of the new guys, and they were saying that, you know, oh, I wouldn't want to do this in 3/4 inch bar because it'd be too much work, and maybe if I had a power hammer and this, that, and the other thing. So I think we're going to do 1 3/4 inch bar. So I ground out that end because that's the end I'm going to be grabbing. This kind of sucks because I don't have my far back camera so that you can see when I'm not right at the thing. I guess I need to get a 3rd camera. And to be honest with you, these are cheap, you know. I mean, like, buy them in the store for $40 or something like that. Webcams, they're very cheap. They're nothing fancy at all. But in order to use them, they're USB, and I have to, like, a USB extension cord to run over to where they're set up from where the computer is, or to run over to the other end if I'm putting the hammer, if I'm setting up the camera so that I can see the power hammer. So unfortunately you won't be able to see much of me, which probably isn't unfortunately tonight. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to do it on a 1/4 or 3/4 inch instead of 1/4 because, you know, there's no reason. Yeah, for the most part, it's easier work than 1/2 inch high carbon, but you know, whenever we, you know, so you don't need a power hammer to do anything in 3/4 inch. Just a little more work. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in on the top of one of the edges, and I'm just going to, man, I hate not having a camera that can see me, but I'm going to put the bar down. I'm just going to drive in the corner a little bit on one of the edges, and that's where my nostrils are going to be. This one's not going to be super fancy, but I am going to do a fancier one. It's just I'm not going to do it on a live stream. It's going to take a while. I've got some things in my head that I want to do to it that's going to make it above and beyond most other dragon heads. So first thing I'm going to do, pull it out. I'm going to knock back a little spot about 45-degree angle, and that's where I'll start the nostrils in. So here we go. Go a little square. Alright, so we hit that end a little. So you can see on the end of the bar, all I did was notched it down a little bit and drove that corner in a little bit. That's where the nostrils are going to be. Now the other thing was the snout, where the nostrils and the mouth are. The snout where the nostrils and the mouth are. A lot of them were they were leaving a lot of material there. Like if they wanted their nose to be, you know, these were little tiny 1/4 inch things, but they were like, oh, I want my snout to be 1/4 or 1/4 of an inch long. They'd come up and they'd put half off the anvil, you know, and they'd put half an inch on and squish that, or 1/4 of an inch on and squish that down. But nobody was thinking, hey, if I squish down 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to end up with a 1/2 inch long snout. So they were putting up what they wanted to be and weren't compensating for the stretch. Now me, I'll leave quite a bit. And I'll make a short snout, but I also won't step it down like everybody else did. You'll see I'm going to hold it at an angle like this and drive that right down onto that corner. So I'm just taking, you know, I'm thinking 3/4. Basically imagine. Now let me not talk for a second here until I get this set. Yeah, I kind of wish I had a farther back cam because I know you're not seeing some of the stuff I'm doing. Like when I stood it up, I hammered on the end of the bar so that I could get this end here flat. So I've gone in and hammered that notch in there. Whereas a lot of the other guys were coming to this side and just pushing down, and then they'd end up with a step there. Kind of hard to explain, but I'm sure that you guys know what I'm talking about. If you put half on, half off, and then you just drive down, you're going to end up with a straight bar that's less. I wish I had some clay out here. Yeah, I do have a power hammer. It's a homemade power hammer back there. I've been using that for years though, and it's served me well. I do want to upgrade. Alright, I'm going to drive that down in a little bit deeper than where it's at. Alright, we fix the end. Just hammering on the end of the bar. Straight down. Right now I'm keeping that the same thickness, 3/4 of an inch all the way down. Later when I punch in the nose and the eyes, that's actually going to swell. And I'm going to let it. But for right now, you can see on the end of the bar, that's all I've done. It's made that shape. So I got that. That's where I'm going to push the nostrils in. Back in here, I'm going to push the eyeballs in. That's the snout. What I can do is on the back of that snout, I can come in and kind of round that up a little bit. Fix my end. This isn't going to be the fanciest dragon. I mean, I'm winging it. I don't even know if I got the right size punches and stuff for the eyes and the nose yet. I'm just going to try to use what I got. But you can see I've made that shape on the end just by hammering that angle on before I started right on the end, and then just hanging some over. Steep angle, drive that corner right into the bar. All right. So now that I've got that established, I will go ahead and we're probably going to move over here. And I'll lock it right in there up against this block, and then we'll put some nostrils in, and we'll probably start with a real small centered punch because I'm going to get them centered and located before I start really driving them home. I don't want to have them way out of whack and just keep trying to fix them. You know, better to get them close to where you want them and then send them than it is to okay, I got a little hang on a second, you probably won't be able to hear me for a second. Alright, so I just got a little punch. I'm going to pull that out, wrap it in the vise with that notch facing up. I'm going to grab myself a hammer that I want to be hitting the punch a lot with my good hammer. So we're just going to punch this in. Right there. We're going to come in and we're going to start our nostrils. Okay, I'm looking at how far up I am. Coming over, trying to give it just a tiny little dimple because I don't want to set a big dimple in it if it's not where I want it. Okay, and we're just going to drive it down in. Now, This is where that angled block comes in handy, because before I just set them in the vise and I come in and hit them, and a lot of times they would, the piece would just bend over. This backs it up. It does push it down when you start hitting hard, but it looks cold, but I still have a little heat there. I'll use it. Alright. So now you can see you've got the two nostrils started in there. I do have a little bend off to one side. Before I go back in, just gonna step over here and correct it. Alright. Put it back in. Now, I drove that in, and that was like just a little center punch. So what I'll do is I'll go to one that's a little bigger. Maybe I'll use one of these. That'll get me to a bigger hole. And you know what? I will use that one because it's got a handle. It's easier. I don't have to mess with the tongs holding the thing. There's no wedges, so I hit that down because it was loose. I hit that down because it was loose because there are no wedges in my handle tools. How you doing, Corwin? We're doing all right. So we're going to pull it out. We're going to drive in deeper, and we're going to, as we drive in, you'll see them nostrils start to flare out to the side. Yeah, I actually, this weekend, I drove 3 hours away to go to a meeting up in the northern end of our state on Saturday, and then I drove about an hour away to the center part of the state today for another blacksmith meeting. Because every once in a while I like to pop into the other regions that aren't my region, but when I do, everybody there knows me, so I fit into most of the regions pretty good, even though I don't belong in them. Alright, so start driving in. Start driving in. Oh, head came off. But that's okay. You just put it back on and go right back to town. So now you'll see it's starting to swell on the sides of the bar. And I'm letting it. I'm not going to stop that. And just guys, you don't have to see me. But you can see it's starting to swell the edge of the bars. But you can see it's starting to kick off to the side. So I will go back and I'll attempt to straighten it, but I'm going to try not to hit where it's swollen. May have to heat it. And then when I run one in that's a little more rounded, it'll really push them nostrils out. Maybe I will use this one right here. Well, spirit grass, I've made dragon heads before in the past, and I just clamp them in the vise, and I've seen this tool that's made out of, that's hot right now. This tool that's made out of 2 pieces of angle iron, just welded together. And and you put it in there, and it supports the piece you're working on while you're punching. I've done them before without it. For years I've been doing it without it. So I just took a couple minutes and made one finally, you know. Or I should say I used to do them years ago, because I haven't done a dragon head in probably 10 years. But the guys in my group were also saying that, you know, hey, you know, if you had to do 1 3/4 or 1 inch bar, you'd need a power hammer, and so this is kind of a, hey, look, you don't need a power hammer, we can do it with that size bar. So before I drive that in, I'll go over there and straighten that crookedness out of it. Once again, I'm trying to do it without pushing that nostril flare back in. That did not give me the desired effect because it left a notch there, but that's alright, I'll put one on the other side. I'll work with it. There we go. Alright, so now I got it straight again. I'll heat it up and we'll drive a wider one in, and we'll push them nostrils out more. And then we'll do the same thing with the eyes, but the eyes will probably get pushed out even farther than the nostrils, believe it or not, because the nostrils are going to go out quite a bit. Alright, so I got that, put this here. Yeah, unfortunately guys, I had to put a camera over here on the vise so we could see, and one down here on the thing, so you don't get to see my smiling face tonight. But I'm sure nobody's going to really miss it. Yeah, and a lot of them are, you know, to be fair, Speargrass, a lot of these guys aren't newer. Some of them, you know, have been smithing less than a year. So, you know, I mean, working in 3/4 inch stock in your first year is kind of daunting. You know, unless you're just an idiot and you love hard work, because you do it. 90% of it is you're working twice as hard as I would work in the same size stock, because they don't have the techniques down yet. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Alright, drop this in right to there. Lock it down. I drop my punch. I gotta grab it. Losing heat while I do it. Alright, blow these nostrils out. Now they're gonna really move out. I love the part where, you know, and even when I made one today out of that tiny 1/4 inch stock, you know, I took advantage of the swelling on the sides, you know, so that even though I started with 1/4 inch stock, where my nostrils were was slightly wider, where the eyes were was slightly wider. So it gave me the illusion of having more material when I started. Alright, so when we pull this out, we're going to see how straight it is. It's not too terribly bad. You can see we got the nostrils in. We've got that shape. It's starting to bend down a little bit. It's alright, we'll bring it back. Just set it here. We can bring that back, but I'm not going to worry about it too much because I'm going to punch 2 eyes in right there. When I do that, I'm going to slide it up a little farther on that support, that tool. I really have no idea what this tool is called. But everybody uses them when they make animal heads. And you guys, because you can't see me and I can't really, you can't see what I'm doing in between when I'm heating it up and reheating and waiting on the, the bar to come up to temp. Because of that, I want you guys to talk more in the page. That way you can kind of keep yourselves a little more entertained and whatnot. I gotta go get a Pepsi. What do you mean my chat must not work? I can see the chat. I can read it up on the screen. Oh, Kevin came in. I didn't even see him come in. But I definitely encourage these guys to talk to each other and stuff while you're waiting for the thing to warm up. I don't want you guys to get bored and leave. Although I wouldn't blame anybody if they did. Sometimes, like working on this, I'm taking more heats than what I should because I keep stopping and showing you stuff and I'm letting it cool down too much. I should have put the nostrils a little bit wider apart because then I could run a fuller like in between the 2 nostrils back down onto the snout. That looks kind of cool. I don't know if I'm going to have the room to do it on this one. Yeah, man. Let's build up. Coal cave, I guess you'd call it. When I work in the coal forge, I'll have like a lot of coal on both sides of the fire, like a row on each side, and I'm working in the center, and then as it's coking up, I'll keep dragging it in. Alright, so I need my hammer. I got just a regular punch, nothing fancy. I'm just going to use this to get my eyes located. I've got this so close to the camera so that you can see it. It's kind of a pain. But I will live through it for your benefit and put up with it. Alright, so once again, I'm going to come in, set it, small hit. Come in, move over, try to keep it even. As far as distance to the side. Because the more even you get these, taking a couple extra seconds and getting the hole in there even and about the same distance from the 2 sides. The more time you take doing that and getting it right in the beginning, the easier it's going to be once you start blowing them eyes out. So just like the nostrils, you can see just 2 little dots with that. I'm going to actually pull it out because I lost a lot of heat just trying to line it up. So I'm going to pull it out, heat it back up, we're going to go in with that punch again. Go a little deeper. Now I have to see if I can find somewhere around here I have a flat chisel. That'll be on one. But it's not the end of the world. If I can't find a flat chisel, I can use a hot cut. So I may just use the hot cut instead. Alright, so we're going to pull out, put it in there, drive that same one in. Again, what I might do is hold that with a pair of tongs and keeps my hand back away from the heat so that I can do it a little longer this time. Catch some more of the heat and not waste as much because it's getting too hot on my hand. I could wear gloves, but I don't. Alright, so we're going to blow them eyes right out. Hey, what's up? This would be Rob, is this Rob Huff? Schwartz on the bicycle rims. Yeah, I don't make blades or anything like that. I make a lot of mistakes, stuff like that. But we're doing just a basic dragon head on the end of a 3/4 inch bar. So we got a good heat this time. And y'all didn't hear the beep, beep, beep of my induction forge, because I don't have one. Alright. Coming in. Bang, bang, drive it in more. Bang, bang, drive it in more. Drive it in more. Gonna switch. Go to a different one. These here, right here that I'm using right now, is one that I made out of the shank of a tap. You can see it's getting bigger, it's getting deeper, it's pushing that material out, giving you that swell on the sides. Where's my other one? Alright, I gotta put that back in the heat and find my other one. You see I'm getting that nice swell on the sides and it's pushing it out. Well, the other thing I forgot to do is I probably, before I came to the eyes, should have put the slit for the mouth. But I can get in there and get it. It's not the end of the world. "16 punches, 56 drips." Yeah. 16 punches, 56 drips. Look at me. Oh man, I was doing pretty good. I went to 2 blacksmith meetings this weekend. 2 in the same weekend. One was about 3 hours north of me, and one was about an hour south. And this one is another one that's just wider. Once again, this is actually a shank off of a tap from a machine, tapping machine. This will help me start to blow it right out. And I like that swell. I mean, the guys when I was watching the demo, he kept standing on the side and he's pushing that swell back in when he's making tiny little dimples for the eyes, tiny little dimples for the nostrils that were giving him hardly any swell to begin with, but then he'd tip it up and he'd drive them right back in. So, you guys have no idea how much of a pain this is to put this where you can see it. Alright. Keep going. Driving it in. Swelling them out. And I want to go farther with the eyes than I did the nostrils. And you'll see I'm jumping back and forth just because I'm trying to, I don't want to go too far on one because it'll push the material over too far. You want to kind of keep going back and forth so you can keep them kind of even. If you go real hard on one, you'll push all that material out, and then when you come over here, it'll push that inner wall back that way, and this one won't bulge out. That doesn't look too terribly bad, considering. I'll pull it out, we'll get a little straightening on it and see what we can do here. Alright, so you can see we've got the eyes there, the nostrils there. It is got a weird bend, which is why it looks funny. See, I'm never hitting where that's going to be on the anvil, otherwise I'll push that eye bulge back in. Alright, let me heat that up again. I think before we move on to doing the horns, and like I said, this is a very simple dragon head. It's not going to be real elaborate. Because, like I said, we were doing that today. We were doing these dragon heads in 1/4-inch square stock. Alright. Beep, beep. The beeps are getting aggressive. Anyone here ordered? 10:06, huh? You say, is that the designation for what they used to sell and call pure iron? Or is this something else entirely? Because for a while they were selling they called it pure iron, and it was steel that had just really, really low carbon, almost none. Alright, I have to find, yeah, there. I got one really good hot heat on there when I did I think it was the second heat on the eyes. And I got a lot of scale and stuff built up on the end of that nose, so I'm going to hit it with the wire brush. Knock some of that crap off there before I keep going and driving it back in. Alright, I'm going to put it back in, heat it up. Then I'm going to come out, put it in there. Hopefully when I'm trying to do the mouth that I should have done before I did the eyes, it won't push the eyes down and hit the And if I have a bigger one of these tools, it wouldn't matter, but I don't right now. I probably will make one. They're not that big a deal. Okay, so hammer, everything. Yeah, unlike Rob, I don't have an extra camera, so you can't see my pretty face. Normally, I'll have the one camera that shines at the anvil, and the other camera's way in the back, so you can see the whole shop. But I moved it up so you can see the vise work. And I only got 2 cameras. Yeah, I have the same problem. All these young guys, but I still think out of the whole group, I probably had the best looking one. I mean, there's no probably about it. I know it was the best looking one, but like I said, everybody starts somewhere. Just gonna give it a wet to straighten it. Trying to line it up where I want it. Little tap, just to see if I'm right where I want it. I'm not, so I'm glad that I didn't give it a big whack. Alright. This will work. Unfortunately, sometimes just being careful and lining it up, you lose a lot of your heat in the lineup process. All right. My nose curled right up on me, which I didn't want to happen, but it did. So we got to lay that down without destroying our nostrils and everything in the process. So what I may end up doing is pulling it out, cooling the top side where the nostrils are, and then flattening it back down with a wooden mallet just to be safe. Adam, we don't want to know about your, what you got going on there. And like I said, this isn't going to be a very elaborate dragon head. It's just a basic dragon head. Wow. Blew a big chunk right out of there. Yeah, I've never heard of this Ternum 6 steel. Alright, I'm going to cool the top so don't damage it. Not liking it. I got to get it pushed back down. What I may be able to do is flip this tool around. That side's a little longer because remember, when I made this tool, I didn't notice that one side was longer than the other on that. And but it may work in my favor because that gives me a little more. maybe I can push it down by putting this in the nostrils and push it down and straighten the edge of the nostrils back out, because they did get a little dented when I just hit it, even though I cooled it and hit it with a wooden mallet. And if it doesn't work, we just cut the bar out and start over. For all the people that missed the beginning. Beep, 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 beep. I just wanted Rob to feel at home. All right. Alright, brought it back down. See, what happened was that curled right up. And I was trying to cut that mouth in. This curled right up and I had to push it back down, so I just redid the nostrils and pushed it back down. Alright. Have to see. Let me sharpen up a different cut. I want to get that pretty darn sharp so that I can cut the mouth without it pushing down too hard into that jig and bending it up like it did the last time with the other hot cut. That's the first thing to rot the blacksmith's concern. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't tried any of it, that's for sure. I didn't order any. And I don't do enough to where I need a large scale amount of wrought iron. So, for me, I can scavenge all the wrought iron I'll ever need. Alright, now I'm going to bring it off this side and kind of drag it in, and that's just going to make it look like I chiseled that mouth deeper than I did. Alright, like I said, this is a very simple looking dragon head. Let me go back and rework my nostrils because I pushed them in a little bit with that chisel. that. I was just getting ready to take that out. Now I don't even have to loosen it. Alright, so you can see we got wonky. We're going to have to straighten that out because it's crooked. But you've got your nose, your mouth's cut in, your eyes. I don't like how that pushed back and left me with that spot in there. And I may never like it unless I go back and take it out. But I just don't know how I'm going to do it right now. Alright, let me clean out a little shit out of my forge. One of the other problems that I got is that I like to just turn that forge on and leave the air right on. I don't have it on a foot pedal or anything, so I do make clinker pretty quick in it, and it's not the best coal. For anybody that's new here, I do encourage, strongly encourage, save a little piece to play with, huh? Yeah. I strongly encourage everybody to talk amongst themselves on the side in the chat, because I know that, you know, it can get pretty boring waiting for this steel to warm up and stuff. Right now I'm just trying to figure out how I want to take care of that. Well, I may not be able to get it out. So basically what that tells me is I should have blown my mouth in before I did my nostrils. And then I wouldn't have had that problem because I wouldn't have to worry about messing up the nostrils because the mouth was already in before the nostrils. So, like I said, I haven't made a dragon's head in probably 10 years. Should have done one at a 1/2 inch stock too, but oh well. A little chunk to play with it. All right, you saving me a chunk, Rob? As you can see, it'd be a total waste on me. I'm not that good. Save that stuff for, you know, good blacksmiths that know what they're doing with it. I don't really think trail dust is feeding the horses. Gotta be honest with you. I think he's just, you know, using that as an excuse to go take a power dump or, you know. Yeah, I'll try a piece, but like I said, you know. Now if I put that up, if I lay it there, I'm going to ruin that. Yeah, I definitely will be at Quad State. It's kind of, for me now, it's a yearly tradition, I guess. Okay, I got some of it out. some of it, but not all of it. I really wasn't expecting it to do that. It created a cold shut there. What I'm talking about is get my pointer right here, this spot right here. It folded right over, and I don't know if you can focus on it, but it folded right over. I think you probably see it better on this side, and it's creating a little cold shut right there. I'm trying to figure out how to take that out. Maybe if I clamp it like this and I come in with a set hammer or something right there and push that material that way, I can probably roll some of that out and get rid of that. I don't know. I should have practiced before I did the... Yeah, I should have practiced this because, like I said, I haven't done a Dragon Head in 10 years. I should have practiced it before I decided to do it on live stream, but like everything else, I don't. You missed a good one a couple weeks ago, Rob, when I did my Thomas-inspired bottle opener. So if you get a chance, you go back and watch. It's like 4 hours long. Just skip to the end to see what that bottle opener looks like. Or maybe I'll send it to you on Facebook so you can see it. It was a pretty good bottle opener for something I just did on the stream in the Coal Forge. Like I said, maybe I can drive that set hammer in and kind of roll that material out. Kind of almost worked. I mean, most people would see it and wouldn't even worry about it. I really need to do about 10 of these before I do the next one on live stream, but you can see I was just trying to push that hump back that way because it was going in and overlapping itself and creating a cold shut. All right. All right. Just trying to get that to push over without hammering on it because I don't want to destroy any of the details. And pretty much between 2023 quad state and 2024 quad state, that whole year I never touched a hammer. And then at 2024 quad state, probably 6 months ago, so I started, getting back into coming out here and trying to make it out here, and started doing some live streams and stuff, but I mean, I'm coming back off of about a year and a half of just I didn't come out. I didn't do it. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I fell into a funk. So now let's see if we can pull some ears up out of it, or some little horns. Yeah, what it was, Rob, I made, Thomas was doing his competition, or not competition, but he was doing his trades. You know, his, send me a bottle opener and he ended up sending me a bottle opener back, but he would just send something back to whoever made the bottle opener, and with their touch mark, he would send something back. And so I made that one for him a couple of years ago and sent it to him, and then it wasn't the boat, jeez. But I made that one and sent it to him, and then after he passed away, I kind of came out here and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make that again. I'd only ever made one. Yeah, I get in little ruts and, you know, fall out of blacksmithing for a while and then get back into it. Shouldn't, but I do. Alright, let's see if I can just clamp this in right to the back of the eyes. Just a little bit sticking up. Yeah, more on this end. Clamping it in pretty tight. I'm going to try to drive this chisel in. These are hard to keep even, I'll tell you that. It's almost right here. I almost need a thinner tool than my handled hot cut, but I guess it'll work for right now. You can see I just went in and took some material and just pulled it up to create a couple little, I don't know, they look more like ears than they do horns. What I need to do is take a second, look around and find my flat chisel that I would normally use to do this, that I couldn't find, which is why I'm using that hot cut right now. And yeah, I don't have the, you know, the huge collection of tooling that most guys have. I mean, like, to be honest with you, when I did my candelabra, I didn't even have a layout table in this shop. I was literally putting that on bars, chunks of square tube, and clamping the pieces on while I was welding them together and stuff onto pieces of square tube. And I mean, my shop is a very minimalistic shop, so you don't really need tons and tons and tons to be able to do it. The more tools you have, it definitely makes it easier. You didn't miss absolutely anything, Adam. Except me kind of looking for a chisel that I should have sitting here somewhere, and I don't. I mean, if I was Rob, I'd probably have 10 of these chisels laying around in different spots. But I don't. Crap. Alright, let me turn it over so that the ears don't burn off. I'm going to put it up in the fire. Because it is taking me a minute here to find that. To be honest with you, I should just grab a piece of coil spring and whip out a small chisel real quick just to use. I mean, we're only talking about a little flat chisel. Now, you know what? I got this crappy wood chisel I made. I might be able to... Yeah, you know, and I can. But you know what? I got this crappy one that I made right here. It's a socketed one. But I could probably just do it with this. It's not right, but oh well. I just want to run it in and pull them up a little more. Put it in. Clamp it right behind the eyes. Even that's a little too wide. Yeah. They just mangled it. All right. Shoot down a little bit. Yeah, I'm one of them guys that tightens the hell out of it right into the vise. Yeah, you can see I raised up them there. The next heat I'm going to take, I'm just going to heat it up. Once it's red, I'm going to wire brush it. I'm starting to get a lot of scale building up on it again. I want to get rid of it. Like I said, this is not going to be the fanciest one, and I'm just doing it because the guys in the thing today were doing a very basic one like this, and they were saying that you needed a power hammer, yada yada yada, in order to do it in 3/4 or 1 inch stock. And I told them that that's not true. That you could easily do what we were doing. This is actually more, because on theirs they weren't blowing out the nostrils and bulging the sides of their bars way out. So, let me get this wire brushed up. Well, that wasn't the right tool, I'll tell you that, Adam, because it mangled the end of it. Where am I going here? Oh, left is right, right is left. Right is left. Damn it, right is left. It mangled the end of that, so that definitely wasn't the right tool. But yeah, I just dropped into a funk, and I bet you I went probably 1.5 years without doing any blacksmithing. And then, you know, 6 months or so ago, I started getting back into it, but you can really tell because things that I used to do real easy are struggle now. Alright, so you can see it's still hot. So I'm not going to cool it. I'm going to take advantage of the heat. And we're going to bend that head around so that it's pointing down a little bit and you got like the neck curled over. And then I'm going to call it because I'm not happy with it at this point, so I'm not going to keep going on it. I think what I'm going to do is practice a few before I do another live stream. And then I'll do a live stream after I practice a few and make sure I got exactly the right tools here. And talking about future. Yeah, 16. What kind of punches were you? Anything special, or just like a round tapered punches, or or were they like hammer eye punches, or well, it wouldn't be hammer eye punches if you were doing a TV tray, so I'm imagining it was probably the punches to run in and open up the holes before you run your sizing drift in. Let me grab a wooden mallet. We'll see. So if one of them guys does watch this video, because I told him I was making it, I was going to go home and I was going to do 1 3/4 by hand. They'll see that it's not the greatest, but they'll also see that that it's easily possible. I mean, what time is it? We haven't even been on it that long. An hour? Because when I started out, I had to make the little tool first to put in the vise. What do you mean you didn't want the class to be tool making? Wasn't that like the claim to fame for the longest time? Make the tool to do the... So you see I'm curling it over. Starting to get a twist in it though. So I gotta see if I can clamp it without damaging my nostrils and all that. So that I can try to take some of that twist out. Alright, I'm gonna take another heat. I don't know if you saw me, I went over to the slack tub, my 5-gallon bucket of water there, and I just cooled the top of the nose so that when I beat on the nostrils, they didn't mangle them. Yeah, you know what I mean? If I was going to actually do a few of these for any, I can't say for a job because I've never really sold any of my stuff. I don't do it for, I give away 99.999% of everything I've made. I give away. I don't make the stuff to sell it. So I can't say if I was going to sell it, I would make the tools. But if I was going to do a demo of it, like for our group or something, I would do a few ahead of times before I go to that demo. To make sure I have every tool that I need in my bucket when I get there, for starters. I think that I'm going to come in and right where that cold shut was, I'm going to cool that very end where the nostrils are and a little bit back. I think I'm going to come in and hammer on that cold shut and bring it down around the horn, and that's going to give me more curve and pull some of that out at the same time. No, you didn't miss anything. Nope, that's crooked. Whoa, that was a mistake. Oh God, that was definitely a mistake. We're going to call this a total loss. I'll show you why. We're not going to, I mean, it's a loss, but it's also a learning. I'll know not to do what I just did next time. Because right now I got the biggest droopy dog looking dragon head you've ever seen in your life. Because it just stretched them eyes right out. These eyes, it just stretched them right out. They're not even round anymore. So I was trying to just get some bend into it and get it around. Not happy with it. I wasn't happy with it way back when I got that cold shut from that spot on. I knew that was an area that I was going to be fighting the whole time. I should have at that point just cut the bar off and started over. But I didn't. So, Puff the Magic Dragon just died. Needs to be cut off, thrown in the scrap bin. Make a few more attempts at it before I decide to do the next one live streaming. But, what I know now is don't ever do that part. Or put some of that bend in before I put the eyeballs in, or before I blow them right out. Put in little dimples and bend it around. Then after I got it bent around, set it on top of a piece of round stock and run my thing in to swell the sides. Because that, that didn't turn out too well at all. Yeah, it's a pretty pathetic looking dragon, but you know what? It looks exactly like a dragon. I saw one last week. I guarantee you guys didn't see a dragon, but I did. It looked exactly like this. Back there, it's a bench grinder that has 12-inch wheels on it, and it had 12-inch wheels on it, and I took both the wheels off and I put regular wire brush on one side that's just the regular fine brush, and then the other side has the twisted knot one. And I was at the meet, and I went to clean off the piece that I had made earlier on this guy's little 6-inch bench grinder, and the second I touched it, that thing just went, bleh. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not what I got. Yeah, I turned on, that was the same thing I had last time. Every time I run that bench grinder with the wire brushes, it interferes. But does the belt sander? Man, can you guys still hear me with that running, or does that do it too? All right, I'm going to call that a total loss. It's kind of, late. $7.35. And the funny part is the last one that I made, the last dragon head that I made, I want to say it was at least 10 years ago, but it may have been more than that. And I made it out of 2-inch solid, square. And then when I got done, I went in and like any hard corners that I had, and any big hammer marks or anything, I took flap wheels and I went in and I cleaned it all up, and then I went consecutively finer until it was a pretty shiny one. And I had horns on it that were a foot long, and I actually made a set of ears because the horns came out right below the horns. I put a pair of ears, but I did MIG weld them on. I cheated. But then I went back and I smoothed so much of it out that when I got done, everybody laughed. It looked like a cartoon cow. It was the funniest looking thing ever. Alright. Alright, well, since that's done, and I figure I got a few more minutes, we'll sit around and what's everybody been up to? I know what Rob's been making because, he just had to come in and tell everybody what he's making, whether we asked or not. Just kidding, Rob. Yeah, oh, maybe I can get to it. All right, so what's everybody working on? That's the question of the day. Then we'll find out if this bandsaw interferes with the mic. Because it's literally right next to it. All right, so obviously we cut it off and it goes over here into the pile of mistakes. Or as I like to refer to it, the land of misfit, what do they call that? The land of misfit makings or something like that. All right, so now I got my bar still, so it wasn't total loss. I still got a bar you can use for something else. Making a round to it, huh? Yeah. Want me to mail you one? No interference from the band. So trailed us last week at work, and then after that, he's going to start doing some heavy smithing. And he's going to be ready to enter the pro competition at the next quad state. Am I right? Because he's going to go hot and heavy and hard. Bucket of misfit. Yeah, I'm going to call that my land of misfit materials. No, misfit makings. I don't know. All it is a whole pile of rejected scraps and stuff that didn't come out just right. And some of these guys might even recognize some of this stuff. I know you guys really don't want to see it. There's a fork I broke off. Part of a, started doing a spatula, a twisted handle, a wheat twist, a couple reject leaves. That tapered punch that I made on the fly to size something. Little scroll. Not really sure what that is or why it's in that pile of that stuff. Got another fork and another fork, and you know. That's the great thing is when you're not live streaming, nobody sees those mistakes. They just see the good thing that you bring when you're done making all your mistakes and figuring out, you know, how to make something. And apparently I was drawing out for bells or something, I think. That style bell. That style bell. All my misfits. A clacker. Working on my tire hammer. Are you building your own tire hammer? But yeah, that's just an example, and most of these mistakes that you see here have been made just during live streams in the last 6 months. These guys are here, you know, some of these guys have been here for all of them. You recognize almost every piece I put out there. But they were the unsuccessful ones. And then I made better ones, and the better ones usually end up in iron in the hats and, you know, stuff like that. Like this was my, I started making one of them basket twists with the twisted bars. And when I twisted it up, 2 of these bars actually welded themselves together. So they stayed shorter than the other 2, and I wasn't able to get them lined up the way I was supposed to in the end. So I know that after I do that forge weld and that forge weld, when I go to do the initial twist, before I back it out, don't take it all the way up to welding heat, because they will weld right together. And I had, if you were watching that stream, I had a screwdriver in there prying on them, trying to get them 2 to pop back apart. But when I did, I realized that because those were welded together, those 2 didn't stretch as much as the 2 loose ones. So I had a heck of a time trying to get it straight. I mean, I've literally seen guys that would say that's good enough and just put it on the end of something and anyway and be like, yeah, that's beautiful. For me, it wasn't right and I didn't move on. So it wasn't a very successful one again tonight. It is what it is. We're all here to learn, so you're learning from me making the mistakes. Hopefully you won't make them yourself. And now I'm encouraging everybody to get out there and make a dragon head. I don't care what size stock. Make it as fancy or unfancy as you want. Just put some stuff away so that next time I don't have to go hunting for everything again. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to eat my dinner. And unfortunately, we didn't get a very good end product this time, but it wasn't a total loss. You saw a lot of the steps. What did I learn? I learned that I probably want to split the mouth before I put the nostrils in. I probably want to go on a smoother, rounder corner that's not as sharp, when I drive in to make that snout, I'll go over here where it's more rounded and not on that real sharp one, so that it doesn't push back on itself and form that cold shot that I spent a considerable amount of time trying to fix that I never did get fixed. I spent way too long looking for a flat chisel that I should have had, especially when the flat chisel was made out of a piece of tool steel that I have more up here that I can real easily take another one and just taper down the last inch of this, because it was made out of, not this piece, I have a piece flattened out, but it was made out of a piece of material that they make springs out of for farm equipment. But this material was that spring material before they bend it. And I had a good 5 foot long chunk. Over the years I cut a couple of them flat chisels out. I don't know. I tell everybody they're so easy to make that I think a couple of them, they said, well, if they're that easy, you could make another one out there. They stole mine, but this one I know didn't get stolen. It's here somewhere. It's right there. I spent all that time looking and it was right there. You know, nothing fancy. But it's a good hard chisel. I like it. I cut cold with it. It doesn't deform. Whatever that material is, it's good. And I spent all that time looking for it. It was literally right there, sitting on the top. All right, guys. I don't know what else to say. I bought it, but the guy who built it just worked from pictures. Yeah, that's kind of like my power hammer here. Is I built it just working from pictures in my head, because it is nothing like anything that anybody else has. So mine, this offset cam up here is the whole thing, basically most of it, like this ammo down here. I got these counterweight pieces from work, and the counterweights were built by stacking up 2-inch by 6-inch solid steel bars. So these 2-inch by 6-inch solid steel bars, right here I've got 12 of them right here, standing up. I got 6 down one side and then 6 down the other side, welded together to form a 12 by 12 inch square, solid, about 30 inches tall, I think. And then on top of that, I've got like a 1-inch plate that I welded together, and then a piece of 2 by 6, I think, welded onto that 1-inch plate, but laying flat, that my dies bolt down onto, and my dies have a 6 by 6 footprint. This back that goes down is 2 of them 2 by 6s with a couple spacers welded in. There's a bearings, 2 bearings, and a shaft that runs through from the front to the back, and my wheel is on the back. And then my motor is just on a pivot, just like all the others. When I step on it, it pushes it into the wheel. And my spring, instead of having the toggle arms and the coil spring, I have a leaf spring. And I can come in and kind of just not even hit it, barely hit it. Slam on it. And it doesn't have the most control right now, especially because I know what's wrong with it. the tire's low on air. It has a slow leak. I always have to come out and fill the tire up almost every time I go to use it. Especially if I leave it sitting. Like if I filled it last week, this week, it'll run like that, but it'll hit faster and harder if I fill that tire up. Right now the tire's just low. Yeah, horizontal camouflage surface. That is true. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can get this camera really closer to there right now. We can try. Most that can happen is I can lose one of the camera feeds. So you can see how messy my shop really is. There's my TV. Other one. That's probably as close as I can get to the hammer. And the feed went dead. So yeah, the feed went dead, so that's it. Hey Jeff, we're just finishing. You missed it. We did the most amazing dragon. Oh man, you should have seen it. It was magical. It was Puff the Magic Dragon. The magical part was I messed it up so bad that I quit. And then I just tried to move the camera over so that we could look at the hammer a little better, and when I did, the camera quit. So I need to unplug it, plug it back in, and I'll have to actually shut the whole computer down and restart it before OBS will recognize that camera again. And if I do that, I'm not coming back on. But yeah, no, I started doing a dragon head, but I messed it up. You know, this was out of 3/4 inch stock. Had some ears sticking out. I made a couple mistakes right in the beginning, and I never recovered from them. I should have just cut it off and started over about 1/4 of the way in. Because the mistake that I made that early just came back and kept haunting me. But let me pull my fire apart, break it down. Like I said, I got two things. I got really poor quality coal that I'm using right now, for starters, but the other thing is I don't have a foot pedal or anything on my air control. I have right here, I got a slide gate that I can slide in and out, and that controls the amount of air that goes up in the fire or into the tire. The fan just stays on full speed all the time. But when I'm doing live streams, I'll just adjust it to one spot and leave it there. So if I'm 2 hours, it'll be 2 hours of solid air. So it builds up clinker, and I get pretty dirty fire while I'm doing the streams. When I'm not doing the streams, usually I'll kick that in and slow it down and pull it out when I put it back, but it is what it is. Yeah, the Donkey Dragon, Eeyore the Friendly Dragon. You guys can kind of see what I'm dealing with. Is which camera's working now? This is all clinker that come out of the fire, or out of the fire pot. That's all clinker. There's a little coal in that, a couple pieces here and there, but not too much. So not enough to make me want to sort through it. And I think one of my recent purchases, I bought a dump trailer, a small 5x8 dump trailer that holds like 5,000 pounds. And I think I'm going to start going down and just buying my coal right at the mine because I can buy bituminous coal out of Pennsylvania, out near Pittsburgh. The mines sell it for like $100 a ton. If I can go out there and buy 2 tons, you know, and drive home, hit the dump button, dump it on a pile, on a slab or something, and have 2 tons would last me 5 years. Because I was paying, oh God, I want to say about $4.50 a ton. I think it was last time I bought a whole pallet. Or I didn't even buy a whole pallet last time. I bought half a pallet. And that was, I got a killer deal then, but the stuff isn't very great. It's not horrible. I burned a lot worse. Dragon snot. Huh. Yeah, the other thing I don't like about the clinker in this particular coal, I got a lot of it. I got it cheap. I bought like half a pallet, and I think I paid like $6 a bag. It was super cheap. Normally, if you buy individually by the bags, they usually want like $15 for a 50-pound bag around me. If you buy like a whole pallet at a time, it ends up being probably close to $10 a bag. So it ends up being $4.50, $400 a ton. Like I said, I can go down and get a ton right at the mine, loose, not bagged, right into my dump trailer for like $100. So I'm seriously thinking about making a trip down to PA. It's only 4 hours away from me to go down to that end of PA, 4 or 5 hours. The old U.S. Geological Survey. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bituminous coal if you go out to that end of Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. Now you come over directly south of me in the middle of Pennsylvania or towards the eastern side of Pennsylvania, there ain't nothing. I mean, but there's some pretty good bituminous stuff out there, a lot of it. There's some anthracite out there too. Obviously, the anthracite is usually in deeper seams. But, you know, it's all hit and miss when you buy it. And some of the stuff, when you buy it at the mines, you can end up with some pretty good sized chunks. But the last stuff of bag stuff I got, I mean, I was getting some pretty big chunks in the bags. But I don't care. I mean, it's just coal. I can break it up as long as it burns good. And it's soft, and you can tell by looking at it. You can tell just by looking at it. I mean, if you take that coal, if I take this coal and I reach in and I kind of push and it breaks apart, then that's going to be softer bituminous coal. If it's anthracite, you can't break it apart. It's like hard like a rock. Now, that's just going to let you know if it's anthracite or bituminous. Then you still got to deal with whether it's low sulfur. But, you know, I mean, even if it's higher sulfur, you know, I know that, you know, everybody says, oh, sulfur is bad. When you are making steel, and trust me, I worked in a foundry, I run furnaces, we melted iron and stuff. We monitored sulfur very closely. Too much sulfur makes it brittle. However, and if you were using sulfur or coal that's high in sulfur for, let's say I'm trying to do a smelt, and we're going to melt down some ore, we're going to build ourselves a little backyard cupola, we're going to melt down some ore and we're going to make some. you're probably going to get a lot of sulfur in that iron because you're bringing it right to a liquid state and, and puddling it. Whereas, if you're smithing with it and it has a higher sulfur content, it's not that big a deal. It really isn't. It isn't as big a deal as everybody makes it out. They're like, oh, sulfur in steel is bad. Okay, that's great. But when you're blacksmithing, you're not taking it to a liquid state. The sulfur isn't going to permeate into the steel. So, I mean, because they say that, like the Pocahontas seam, but I think that's down in Virginia, was like supposedly the best blacksmithing coal you could get. But like I said, there's mines, there's huge, huge coal deposits. And that's why, that whole area from Pittsburgh out to, southern Ohio, you're getting into, oh God, Steubenville, Ohio. Steubenville, Ohio is a good example. They had like 6 steel mills in that town, right on the Ohio River, because they had good ore, and they could bring in coal by barge through the river from over in Pennsylvania. And Steubenville was just like a central, close area to get both the materials they needed the most of there. But yeah, as far as I know, I've asked the coal guys, hey, how much for bituminous, how much for, because, and they're like, yeah, for the bituminous it's X amount. And they started telling me, hey, there's red, there's gray, and I'm like, whoa, I have no idea what all that is. You let me know if it's halfway decent for blacksmithing. And even the worst bituminous I've ever got was better than any anthracite I tried using. So, there's always that. But you know what? I can go right here. Whispers, hold on, I gotta go back. Charcoal is better. Charcoal is better, but that's a lot of work to make the charcoal, to go out and use the charcoal. Whereas if I can buy something that somebody's already mined out of the ground. And like I said, the mines there, when you go out there, usually they'll hit the bituminous, and the anthracite seams will be deeper than the bituminous, so they got to dig the bituminous out anyway. And most of them are all big strip mines, so. Carbon monoxide. Yeah, I'm actually looking something up. But yeah, I can go to the Pennsylvania Mine Map Atlas, and it'll give me all the map and what type of coal they're bringing out of it. And there's some real old maps too, with the old, like if I could show you these guys, this is Pennsylvania. Like this one map is showing you all the areas and what types of coal are, you know, in those areas, but it's not in the whole Pennsylvania map. It's kind of like showing just the one end. I'll have to go in and look it up more and do more research on that. But yeah, for now I'm what trader? Who's a trader? I need to make some charcoal. I need to make a retort first. It's on my to-do list. Yeah, see, your to-do list is pretty long because you know what? There you go. I'm ready to forge. I don't have to make anything. And there's about 20 more bags over there yet. And when I do a live stream, I usually get about 3 live streams to a bag of coal. So it's not that much. But all right, guys, I'm going to go eat my dinner. I am out.